think for me the most crucial one is to professionalise both tiers of women's football, top two tiers of women's football. I think, again, going back to it, we have evidence that facilities are just not up to scratch. You know, players being treated as second-class citizens, scheduling being revolved around the men's team, using bin bags for curtains at allegedly the elite game, medical care, you know, clubs not supporting their players, so players then having to go through the NHS. It lengthens the injury, and some have even had to have early retirement because of that. You know, we can't have that. The lack of marketing at the elite game, that means the fans don't get the experience. The fans don't even know how to get to games. You know, there's such a lot of work that needs to be done at the elite level in terms of the top two tiers of women's football. But I think they're easily fixable. So my recommendations is to bring in minimum standards, a salary floor. You know, I have evidence that players are getting paid £4,000 to £5,000 to play women's football, and having to have 3 or 4 jobs. Well, that means they can't be the best. So it means they're dehydrated, don't have the right nutrition plans, they're fatigued, their injury rates are more, they're not taken seriously. It's that second-class citizen again. But then, as humans, take that away, the product then is massively suffering, because how can we provide a good product when we're not giving them the opportunity to thrive? So we need that, and I appreciate what I'm asking means there's an investment piece that needs to come in, and I've used the word investment many times, many times, and I appreciate that. But you have to see women's football as a start-up business. Realistically, men's football has been around for such a long time. It's an institution. We understand it. It's like a motorway. Everyone's going in the same direction. It's clearly mapped out. Women's football is like an overgrown footpath. We need to kind of map it out, put in the work and put that investment in. And I really do believe we can get there.
Just hearing from Karen Carney there before I destroyed the studio by stepping on my microphone.
I find that TV works better when people can hear you, Gerard, which I think is...
We might as well be honest and say I stepped on the microphone and pulled it off my jacket.
The magic of television.
It might be worth... Karen was speaking a lot about the recommendation and a couple of specifics as well. Let's just have a look. There are 10 key recommendations. We've just picked out sort of 5 or so points here. Karen, the most vital of those, Karen was saying, is to professionalise both the Women's Super League, which it is, but the Championship as well. So you have those elite 2 top tiers, they are fully professional, and all that entails. So that entails minimum standards, of which a salary floor. The reason why Karen was talking about that, as she alluded to there, is some people in the Championship, some of the salaries are as low as £4,000. Well, they need to have other jobs, some of them having several jobs. So how can they be professional athletes if they've got several jobs and they're earning just £4,000 from football as well? Minimum standards cuts across many things, from facility standards, maternity considerations, all those things, so many as well. And you see the gold standards there, funding, revising how the funding of the women's game maybe comes from prize money, etc., and looking at a new partner. This investment as well, which we'll hear about from Karen a little bit later on. It's about how you get the investment now and how you build the game to become the billion-pound industry she thinks it can become.
And another big point that Karen made was diversity, massively important at grassroots level. Yeah,
and this is a huge issue within this review, because it's a huge issue within the game. It's a huge issue within the women's game as well. It was interesting to talk to Karen. We've talked to some other people this afternoon as well from the PFA. We're going to be speaking to Kick It Out within the next hour as well. Is what does diversity mean? Because you find, not just within sport, but within society as well, and within politics as well. This is a government review. People mention the words like diversity, inclusion, equality. Great words to say. What do they actually mean? What are you actually going to do? Who are you going to include? Are you going to make sure you're including all the communities that you need to? Because everybody has different needs, especially girls and women coming into a new era for the sport, where they're trying to grow participation at the grassroots and then build professional leagues as well. So this is what Karen Carney had to say about the issues around diversity.
It's a problem. It is. You know what? It's a systemic problem throughout society, it really is, but there is a responsibility, and an absolute responsibility, for our sport to be able to people to look and think, see it to be, and it's relatable. And it's not diverse enough, and I think the FA have acknowledged that. We understand the representation at the European Championships, and we see a lack of representation in the current squad of the Lionesses, so it is a problem. Throughout the review, you know, we've tried to tackle that. So if we go back to facilities, we start at schools. If we make it easier at schools and get people involved, then that's a brilliant start-off point. Then we go to facilities. If we have more facilities, more funding, we can go into more diverse areas. So that accessibility, then we get more people involved in football without having to travel, which is a big part of the issue at this moment in time. If we fix the academy pathways, again, we're allowing more people to have accessibility, and I really believe then the sport will be able to diversify. Another big part is lowering the GBE point system, because at the moment in time, it's way too high. And again, the most lowering that system will then add diversity. And again, it's being able to turn on the TV and go, I can see it and I want to be it. Right now, we don't have that. We work with Football Beyond Borders. And a lot of the teenage girls said, we don't relate to women's football. We can't even relate to the Lionesses. So it's a problem. And the funding is a big part of that. And sorry to interrupt, I have challenged in the review the FA to be better on this space, to act upon it. But we need to do better. It's not good enough.
That's Karen Carney's view. Interesting. Who's heart and centre of this, especially if one of the key recommendations, most vital, is to professionalise the league? Well, it's the players. It's about the players. So I've had a chat with the PFA today. Fern Whelan, who's the Women's Football EDI executive there. Again, speaking to her about the issues around diversity. How do you challenge what that word is, and how do you actually deliver it now for this hope for this new era for women's football?
There's a South Asian advisory group within the FA, within our AIMS programme, within the PFA. We go not just in the men's game, but again, we go in the women's game, and we do have some female players on our AIMS programme as well. So we're trying to access as many different communities as we possibly can. But as I say, I think, you know, we're a small team. I think we've tried to allude to is that the work collectively of all the stakeholders, if we're all not doing it in silo, we're doing it together, I think we can achieve more and we can get to more communities by working together on this. And I think that's potentially what I've been trying to do within my role within the last 18 months of being in post, is try and connect as many different dots as possible so we can all achieve more, really.
And on that point about making women's football a £1 billion product, that is great, but you can't just click your fingers and that happens. So Karen Carney needs backing if that's to become a reality, doesn't she?
A lot of the word, 92 times the word investment was mentioned in the report. Stakeholders, everybody involved in football. One of the biggest stakeholders in football, regardless whether it's women's, men's, boys, girls, disability, it's the Football Association, the FA. They were involved in the review in terms of they were made aware of the recommendations in advance. I'm sure there would have been discussions throughout as well. Baroness Sue Campbell as well spoke at a select committee last week, and much of what she spoke about was mentioned in this review as well. Let's, though, get the view of the FA's response to the publication of this review. They go on to say, exciting times for the development of the women's game. They share Karen's vision of creating world-leading standards for players, fans and everyone involved in women's football. And they go on to say that they look forward to working with all stakeholders, lots of them, to address the challenges and opportunities outlined in the report and to deliver the changes needed to take the women's professional game to the next level. Also, it's interesting as well, we kick it out. We've spoken with them. We hope to speak to them within the next hour, but they provided us with this statement as well from their Chief Operating Officer, Holly Varney. Holly says that she welcomes the review, outlines positive, constructive suggestions to help grow the game, encouraged to see the review has incorporated several of their recommendations to address the lack of diversity, which we just talked about there, Rob, across the women's game, both on and off the pitch. So that's from Holly. She goes on to say, got to remember there are more and more young girls playing football than ever before. Isn't that true? With the success of the Lionesses, you say there, the Lionesses have led the way, inspiring the next generation. Stakeholders across football, important part to play in maintaining that momentum. Vital that the game now harnesses the opportunity to ensure that football is accessible to everyone, regardless of their background. So a couple of reactions there from Kick It Out and from the Football Association, bringing you back now to the £1 billion industry. This is why Karen Carney thinks it could become a £1 billion industry.
Look at how far the game's come in, two years. You know, if I'd have said to you 3 or 4 years ago, there'd be record attendances across Europe. Last season, the top 5 attendances, 3 out of the 5 were women's teams. but they're probably single moments, but we need to do this continually. So there's an appetite there. Absolutely, we've got TV appetite, we've got attendance appetite, but it's not being marketed in the right way. For me, this is a marketing issue. So see women's football as a start-up business. We need an injection of cash to get it to the next level. It's like having this amazing business idea and going, yeah, we have a vision for it, we see the innovation, but we need that injection of cash. And it's hard when you ask for money. You know, everyone's really hesitant. And I also think there's a hesitancy in women's sport and women's football. I don't know, it's a lot of money, but I don't think what we're asking for in this review is a lot. It's for minimum standards. It's for maternity rights. It's for salary floors. These are basics. So I don't think I'm asking for the world. But what I'm saying is get these foundations right, and I really do believe that with the investment and the foundations, you'll get that return on investment back.